whatever you think about Joey Barton, no one can accuse him of being dull. Now, he's had quite the past. To some, he's a kind of working class intellect. To others, he's just a thug, no matter how much satire he comes up with. So I'm going to find out about the real Joey Barton. I'm going to find some people at you and see what you think about them. Boris Johnson.
He's an imbecile.
Yes. Ouch. Jeremy Corbyn.
I think he's a decent human being. I think he's one of the few people in politics who says and does what he believes in. Do I always agree with what he says? No, but I think he's genuine.
Donald Trump, how much of a threat to Western civilization if he became president?
Quite a bit, luckily.
Are you frightened?
No, the Americans are clearly insane anyway. I think clearly we should be worried about the Americans regardless of who wins.
You've had quite a colourful life, obviously football with its highs and lows, question time, prison. I mean, you've touched quite a lot of bases. I mean, looking at this, if 10-year-old Joey Barton walked in the room and saw you now, what do you think he'd think of?
I certainly think the football part of it, I would have kind of envisioned that at a young age. It was always a dream and an ambition to play at the level I played at. Would I have, imagined myself being on Question Time or Newsnight or, speaking at the Oxford Union or Cheltenham Literary Festival? No, probably not.
What's striking about the book is violence is always there as a backdrop. Violence was just everywhere, wasn't it, from as early as you can remember?
I wouldn't say everywhere. I mean, obviously there was clearly things that were going on around you which, there was elements of violence in there, from quite a working class area, but there was a lot of great stuff going on as well, but you tend to only focus on the negatives when you're trying to tell a story and trying to explain kind of scenarios that are going on in and around your background when you're a kid. People from some backgrounds can't really understand that. People from the background that I'm from can understand that. There's a real ruggedness about, certain parts of this country, where there's, in my opinion, this culture of kind of honour where, people tend to react in an aggressive manner towards what they would perceive as a smite towards them.
You said there's so much ferocity, so much anger inside of me, my behaviour was occasionally psychotic, that for a while you began to love fighting as much as you loved football. In the environment in which you were part of, it was almost seen that being aggressive, even a bit violent, was part of being a man.
Well, of course. If you look at the football matches of the early 80s, you had fans who would go to the game, they'd work all week and they'd go to the game for a fight. There was that element of violence within football. It's less so now than what it was maybe in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, but there was the kind of element of, men are men, they don't show emotions, the way they deal with everything is, with aggression. You have to look at certainly our nation as a whole. We're a very aggressive nation. You think about the amount of wars we've been involved in for the size of us. Well, yeah, and it's not something that's new to this generation. I think, let's go back to, 1940, 1950, kind of men are men, and there's still a very strange, kind of stiff British upper lip attitude to many problems socially. We're more progressive than some countries, but we are not the most progressive country, as we're seeing with, the issues in and around kind of homophobia in football, and now we haven't got any openly gay players, so on and so forth.
Do you know footballers who are gay?
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I think that there's a lot to be said about the culture. We were doing the Rainbow Laces campaign, and the kind of pushback towards that. And I remember doing a documentary with I think it was Al Fashion, and she was talking about this issue. And she told me some of the responses she's had to kind of emails. Footballers didn't want to talk about it because they thought that, and I've seen some of the Twitter feedback where people are saying, am I gay because I'm talking about, but this is what we're dealing with in I think there was a prominent journalist, maybe for the Daily Mail, who, after I'd spoken out about a couple of, LGBT issues, actually said, well, Joey Barton might as well come out and say he's gay.
So if an openly gay guy actually did come out as a footballer, the amount of stick he'd get, still, even in 2016?
I don't think so.
Things have changed?
Well, I don't think things have changed. I think it's like anything. You used to get a lot of racist abuses at games and so on and so forth, and we're seeing that society saying that's no longer acceptable. And if somebody stood up and shouted an openly racist remark at a football match, and we've seen that happen. We've seen that happen on the subway in Paris when Chelsea were out there not long ago, and you've seen how you know, the way the media and social media kind of outed those people, and the fans was, you know, rightly banned from attending Chelsea games, so on and so forth. And I think it'd be the same if a player came out. I mean, could you imagine if there was a gay player, which, you know, basic mathematics tells you that there clearly must be on the numbers. You know, do you think you would get someone shouting homophobic abuse at him? Well, there's always a few idiots, so I'm surmising that you would.
It'd be drowned out by the people fighting against it.
Yeah, and people say, you know, would they be accepted in the dressing room, so on and so forth. And you've seen you know, I think they would. I don't think there'd be the pushback that people fear.
I'm not going to lie, I've not met many footballers who bring along philosophy teachers with them.
Okay. Philosophy professors.
Professor.
Yeah,
sorry, philosophy professor, obviously, sorry.
You have to be careful.
He's sitting there, he's standing there feeling slighted. I mean, he told me before we did this that your first essay was, what was it? Is death something
bad for the person?
Is it bad for the person who dies?
Yeah.
And you like a bit of Epicurus?
Yeah, I just kind of think that's, you know, you can get one extreme, another extreme. Usually the reality is somewhere in the middle, and I found that was a more balanced position to take. And he was the one, you know, the one philosopher that I read quite a bit about, and I thought he's onto something. I've got a lot more in common with him. But
what's drawn you to philosophy, do you reckon?
Just got an inquisitive mind, you know, and it was something, you know, I've always believed in kind of educating yourself and pushing your boundaries and getting the maximum out of life experience. Some people, you know, don't particularly like that, and they want to put you back in your box and say you're a footballer, you shouldn't be talking about stuff like this, which I think is...
do you feel patronised by that?
Not really, no. I feel I kind of pity them. I just don't really waste time. I'm kind of like too busy doing lots of things to like kind of waste time worrying about what someone's opinion of me, or, you know, how they want me to be portrayed.
We'll talk about some of your views. I mean, one of the things about prison, you've said it might have worked for you because you had things to lose, but it doesn't work for most people. Yeah,
that was just an opinion I made, you know, based on what I'd seen that was happening in front of me. And, you know, I'm not a policy maker, so you know, I don't really have any ideas in terms of how we reform our penal system, but we've got to be very careful in this country that we don't end up with a similar penal system as America, where, you know, prison becomes big money. You know, I think we do have the potential to do that. You know, we tend to copy the Americans on lots of things, and I just hope that we don't do that.
You back Remain in the e-referendum. Are you worried about Britain's future now we're out?
Yeah, I think we all should be. I always think we're better as a collective, and we're no longer a collective. And a good friend of mine gave me a great analogy about a poker table, and we had quite a nice chip stack going on, and then we've left the poker table. So I think we were silly to do so, but, you know, that is the beauty of living in a democracy. You know, the people have voted, and we have to get behind it whether we agree with it or not.
You're from Liverpool. Hillsborough was obviously a defining moment in their city's history. Do you think that showed the power of working class people when they organised together to take on an establishment which did everything to...
I wouldn't say working class, it's the power of people, you know, because there are lots of people who have been involved in that campaign who probably aren't working class. You know, there's lots of MPs and people who are probably from all different backgrounds, and I struggle with the kind of working class, middle class and all that, you know.
What would you call yourself now?
Just a human being, same as you. So I think it showed the power of people, and the power of people when they think that there's injustice. And, you know, it's not just been Hillsborough. You know, Liverpool is full of people who are incredibly proud of where they come from and what they stand for, and when they see injustice. And it's not just people from Liverpool, it's people from all over. You know, those Liverpool fans who lost their lives tragically on that day weren't just from Liverpool. You know, they were from all over the country. And what's also helped the campaign is the support of football fans, and not only football fans, just human beings all over the country. And it was long overdue, and you know, it's glad to see that you know, they got the publicity that they rightly deserved.
So that's Joey Barton. Now, he's a colourful character, as I think we all expected, and a complex character as well. Now, I actually thought that was a very interesting insight into him, what makes him tick, his background. And it's not about, you know, justifying his violence, but putting it in context. But I want to hear what you think. Has your opinion of Joey Barton changed at all? People are quite polarised when it comes to Joey Barton. So we've got loads of other interviews, you can look on them there, and loads more interviews to come. Keep your suggestions coming. I want to hear who you think I should be chatting to. As ever, subscribe. I'll see you next time.